Hello everyone and welcome. I'm Laura Rogers and this is Power Hour. This is a show I've been doing for about 8 years, Wednesdays at 11, and we talk about Microsoft 365 and things that you can do in it as a business user, power user, and a wide range of topics, usually mostly around SharePoint, Power Apps, Power Automate, and not super technical. And today's demonstration is going to be of SharePoint Spaces, specifically the 360 image tours. So we've got a lot going on in this one. If you've never been to Power Hour before, there is a link at the bottom wherever you're watching to fill out the form to join in the chat. We chat in Microsoft Teams. And that's the fun thing about it being live is you never know what's going to happen, and we can have a lively conversation, discussion going on in Teams, ask questions, and I like to kind of ask you all what you think about things as I'm going. So today, basically, I paired up with Ricoh. They have a 360 camera that they let me borrow for this. And so I use this 360 camera and specifically wanted to demonstrate an industry that would use 360 cameras to put them in SharePoint Spaces for these 360 image tours. So I thought interior design would be the perfect industry. So I've got a demonstration of going through an interior designed home with a local interior designer, Julie Howard, and that's where I'm going to show you kind of how to build out that 360 image tour. So you can kind of think about your industry, whatever kind of company that you work for, and how potentially you'd be able to use 360 images and 360 image tours to accomplish something. All right, so the first thing, now we actually have already done a Power Hour about SharePoint Spaces, so this one's specifically about the 360 image tours concept. And if you're in Teams, I've put some reference links in the General tab in Teams, and one of those links is that other Power Hour. So I'm going to go through the process of creating a SharePoint space in this demo, but if you want to see the full demo all about everything else in SharePoint Spaces, that's where that one is. So let's go ahead. I'll go ahead and share my screen, and then we'll get going talking about what we can do in a SharePoint space. And I'm just going to start off. So I'm going to start off by showing you the result of what we accomplished, and then and how cool it is. And then I'll show you just the step-by-step of how to create that. And I'll talk about the technologies involved and the different options and how cool that Ricoh Theta camera ended up being, and how useful it was. So let me go over to, let me share my screen here. All right, so this is what I'm going to show you how to do, but again, I'll just do an overview of it first. So I go into this SharePoint space, and so this is where, if you were an interior designer, you'd be able to show people, give them a tour of a place that you have interior designed. And here you can see in this mirror here that I have the Ricoh camera on a tripod. So you can see that's what it looks like. It's just on the tripod, but the tripod the camera doesn't have to move or anything. It's just taking these photos, and each 360 photo is it's completely all the way around. So this is just a single photo that I'm taking. And so in the 360 image tour, what I'm doing that I'll show you how to do is not only be able to jump from room to room, but in each space, you're able to label things, and you're able to put these little tags on things. So like here's a before picture. So of course, if you've designed this kitchen, you want people to see what it looked like before you designed it. So that's I was able to insert an image there so that people could click on. And then, so we even went into the pantry. So, and then you can go back out of the pantry. All right, so you get the idea of labeling things and jumping around in the space and kind of going from room to room. So that's the concept of the 360 image tour. So now that you've seen kind of the end result, this is where we'll go ahead and I'll switch over to doing a brand new one and go through that process so you can see how it's built and kind of some of the differences. All right, so here is, and I'm doing this in the Power Hour tenant, which is where we have our, where you all have access to this too. And I'm gonna go ahead and click the new drop down in here, and that's how you go get started creating a SharePoint space. New, and then it's just got space listed here. All right, so when you first create your space, it gives you this little ability to have sort of a style to your space. I'll say test space June. And click create. So this is actually creating a page in SharePoint, and it's a SharePoint space. So in the SharePoint space, you have the ability to, it gives you this big empty space and you can add things to it. So 360 tour is just the thing that we're adding. Now I could add a 360 image as well, but the tour is where we're going with this. So it's going to be multiple 360 images. And so you just kind of place it somewhere in here. And then once you start building your, oh, I feel like these are some people, you all in Power Hour, you all have put some pictures in here. You can upload your pictures, and then this is where I've got some examples that I can give you. So it's going to be helpful. Now, the 360 camera is what I used, but I want to show you a couple of different examples of, you can use the panorama picture just like from an iPhone. So that is technically a 360 picture, but there is a huge difference in the quality of what you're going to get with just that 360 picture from your camera on the iPhone and an actual 360 camera. So let me go ahead and, so this is gonna, I'll show you what I'm just gonna go ahead and go back out of this and add a 360 image just so you can see just the images themselves and what the difference looks like. So when I go here, I'll go ahead and look at this panorama picture that I took in Hawaii because I want you to see kind of the quality difference. So this is just taking an iPhone and doing, you know, going to 360 mode to panorama mode, and you hold it up and you kind of go around in a circle. So that's what that one is going to be. Of course, it's uploading this file. Oh, nice. Let me go ahead and do one of the ones that I don't want to spend too much time on this thing taking forever. So I'll try that one more time. And then if it doesn't work, I'll just move on to the actual quality photos that look better. I really just wanted to demonstrate that the panorama photos from your phone just don't have the highest quality. But if that thing's going to give me an error, it's fine. What it ends up looking like is kind of blurry and kind of low quality. So yeah, that's fine. That one's not going to... Let's see, 360. I'll just go back to the tour. And anytime you want to add a new one, it's just that little plus at the top left. And that's the icon for a tour. And I already have these all uploaded in that example that I showed you a second ago. So if this takes too long to upload them, just kind of in the new example, then I'll just switch back over to the other one. All right, so this is going to be, this is the pantry one. And go. didn't realize these were so large. I might just switch over to the tenant where they're already uploaded. Okay, that looks like that one worked. So there it is. Okay, so now once you put the 360 image in and you want to go into the tour, then that's where you're going to have to publish the page, because clicking on it again in here, it's just kind of asking you to edit just the way it looks in the SharePoint space. You're still editing the SharePoint space. So that's one of the tricky things, is that you want to publish the page. So then once you publish it, then you can go into the 360 tour. So that's probably the first place you might get stuck when you are trying to kind of edit this and add things to it. So now I'm in the 360 image tour, or I'm in the 360, the SharePoint space, and then I click on the little orb that I just added. And then once I click on, now I'm inside of the pantry. So you can see I'm looking around inside here. So let's go ahead and add, I want to add something to my 360 image tour. Let's see, I'll go edit this. Okay, so now I'm in the tour builder. So this says tour builder, tour settings. So this is going to be specific to the image tour. So you have to go inside of, go ahead and publish the page and go inside of the image and then edit it so you can get inside of the tour builder. So this is where it lets you build out by adding all of the different rooms and by adding labels to things. So so before I started, in the demo that I showed you a minute ago, I started sort of in this front hallway, and then I went into the living room. Now this is the image that I happened to upload, was the pantry. So I'm starting in the pantry, and I want to I can label things in the pantry, but I can move out back into the kitchen. So the tour itself is going to have different settings. So I can say start tour with this image, and I can tell it out of all the images that I've uploaded which one that I want to start with. And then I've got a format. And then, so here, select a location in the image to annotate. So then this is where it's got a little plus icon. So with the plus icon, that's where I can add things. I'm going to go ahead and add more 360 images and get out of the pantry and then go ahead and show you kind of some of the labeling that you can do. So I'll go ahead and upload more images here. Let's see if I can view. There we go. Now I can see kind of some more things. I can see what I'm doing here. So that one I think is the kitchen. I can upload several of them. There we go. There. So that might take a few seconds, but at least it's letting me go ahead and just upload several files at once. So then in the image tour, once you're inside of it, then that's where you have the ability to add all the different 360 images that will be part of your tour. And then also have the ability to go through the images and put all those labels on the images. So if you think about what industry you're in, think about interior design or real estate, or let's see, there are factories. There's even the concept of having new employees that you're adding to your company, and you want to give them a tour of your headquarters. You can go into like the main lobby of your headquarters office and kind of have a tour that walks them around. So think about all these concepts about what your industry could potentially do with these. And then this is something that you can just build in SharePoint. Now, another thing that I'm going to show you towards the end while I'm waiting for these files to upload, another thing that I'm going to show you towards the end is the ability to go into this 360 image tour with the Oculus headset. So if you have an Oculus headset, then you can actually go to SharePoint in the browser And in the browser, you have the ability to go inside of that, that space. And so right now, when I'm doing the image tour and I'm looking around, it's kind of, I'm just clicking around with my cursor. But when I do it, when I'm in the Oculus, I'm actually looking around in the headset like this, and it makes me feel like I'm in that space. So let's see, it added one more. I'm going to go ahead and now let me show you all where it's putting these images when it adds them. So I'm going to go back out of the tour builder, and then I'm going to go back out into SharePoint and then back into the 360 image tour, so you can see where it's putting these files, where it's got these resource files that it's using. And also when I'm in the 360 tour, I have this tour builder button, and that's how I can go back inside of it to start adding the annotations. And I have, again, all these extra little settings that I can do. So I'll go ahead and republish that. Okay, so in SharePoint, where is it putting all those files? So I'll go ahead and go to Site Contents, and then Site Assets. All right, Site Pages, Test Space. Okay, so in the Site Pages library, inside of, it's going to create a little folder with the name of whatever your space is that you created. I called mine Test Space June. And this is where it put all those files. So it looks like it gave me an error, like it was confused and hadn't uploaded the files, but it looks like it did upload them. So yeah. So there are all the files that I just added. I think that's all of them. Let me double check. Let's see. I had put several files in here. There. And then when it's uploading them, it's going to tell me if you know, there are ones that were already in there. So I can have that going and have it, you know, just make sure that it gets all the files in there, and then go back into the space and just another window and show you the rest of building out the tour. Okay. So let's see. Hopefully that won't take too long. Hey, you all let me know, let's see, in the chat. Oh, let's see, I got some questions. What about adding Power Family stuff? Capture and save info from visitor. What does that mean? I'm not sure what you mean by that, Larry. So far, as I'm waiting for this, so far, do you all have any questions about how to get, you guys able to do this? Do you have any questions about how to get in here? Have you tried it? And are you able to get into the one that I just created just here in the Power Hour space? And also, is it sucking up bandwidth by me uploading all that stuff? And are you thinking about what industry are you in, and how could it potentially, kind of shout out in the chat like what industry your company is, and shout out in the chat kind of how you think maybe it could be used in your industry. Oh, are you talking about a Power App? So this is completely unrelated to Power Apps. Now, speaking of interior design, that is something cool that we could do with a Power App that I was thinking about, that it has nothing to do with SharePoint Spaces or 360 images though. So, but with Power Apps, you can do things like measure items, like hold up the camera to something and the camera gives you the measurements of what that object is, and then that could go into the Power App. But that's kind of related to the interior design industry, but not related to what we're going to be doing in SharePoint Spaces. All right. I think that's just about done. All right, I'm going to go ahead and go to SharePoint in another tab. Now, how do I get back into my SharePoint space? So I didn't put a link to it anywhere when I created it. So I'll go back to Site Contents. Now, of course, whenever you publish a page in SharePoint, it asks you if you want to add it to the navigation. I just didn't do that. So I'm just going to go back to Site Pages. And that's my page. So your SharePoint space is just a page in your Site Pages library. And once you go to it, then you're in kind of this interface you created. Now, this little background that it gives you when you're editing your SharePoint space, that background itself can also be a 360 image. So let's see. Yeah, but when you're adding things, it's like in here, it's like you're adding web parts. Okay, so this is the 360 image that I created, 360 image tour that I created. Again, whenever you click on it in here, that's not necessarily taking you into the 360 image tour. That's where you have to get out of edit mode and then click to go inside of it. All right, so then when I'm in here, that's when I want to hit edit again. And then I'm in the tour where it gives you the tour builder. So let's see if it lets me go add more 360 images from the ones that I just already uploaded. Okay, so here is the, there's the living room. I think that one's the kitchen. Okay, so I added it to the 360 image tour, but now what I want to do is add a little clickable object that will take me into the other image. So I click wherever I want there to be a button for someone to navigate to the other image. I can either do an annotation, so I just clicked, and I can either link to another 360 image or annotate this image. So I'll go ahead and link to a 360 image, and then that's where it's going to pull up the list of the other 360 images that are already in this tour. So then so each time I add a link, it gives me a description. So go to kitchen. And then do I want to show the description never, on hover, or always? So I want it to always just say go to kitchen so people will know what they're about to click on. And then for each of these little icons, I can change the style and the icon. So I can change, it only gives you a few to pick from, but we'll play around with a few of those too as well. Let's see. All right, so now I've got my little link created. So as soon as I create it, I can click on it. And I want to actually go to the kitchen. So I'll go republish and then click on it. And now I'm in the kitchen. So you can see I'm in the 360 image, and I can kind of swirl around here and even go up and down. So when I go down, it's funny because I can see the tripod there. But this is just a single image. And then it's kind of awkward the way you kind of have to go edit again. I'm noticing, so you all have some answers to what I was asking. Let's see. Oh, customer service department. You could see creating a virtual break room. That would be interesting. Utility and pipeline industry. I think that utilities and pipelines and factories actually use 360, use the SharePoint Spaces more than anyone. Oh, someone said in education, do a virtual field trip. Thanks, David. That's really cool. Okay, so then once I've navigated to the next image, then I have to go back into edit mode. So that's the part that's a little confusing and awkward, is having to go click, publish it, go back into edit mode to be able to edit it again. So it's kind of an in and out. So again, when I'm saying where I want to start the tour, it would have helped if I would have given my images better names, because they have all these cryptic names. So I tell it which image I want to start the tour with, so I could start here in the kitchen if I wanted to. And then again, once I'm in this image, this is where I can click the little plus to describe things. So I'm going to do an annotation. So this is what an annotation looks like. So when I choose annotation, I can add text, an image, another video, audio, a file, or a 3D object. So I'm going to go ahead and go through one of each of these. I'll do text. So then for each thing that I add, I can say whether I want it to always show or on hover and select. And for each of these, I can change the icon to something else, and I can make the icon transparent if I want to. So you can see I changed the icon. It's got sort of a different little look to it. And then I can go add something else. With an annotation, I'll go ahead and show you what a 3D object looks like. So when I go to add a 3D object, I don't have any 3D objects already, but I can go to this 3D catalog. So this is really interesting. Now, if you are in an industry that creates three-dimensional objects, you can add your own. You can use 3D software. There's 3D software that people use like when they're creating, let's see, when you have a 3D printer and you're creating the objects that you're about to 3D print, all the different pieces of software that you would use for that, those are different ways you can create 3D images. So I'm just going to search for a chair, and I'll just find this weird little chair here and insert it in here, and I can change the style. So now this is cool. I have to publish it to be able to click on the chair to see what it looks like. Whoa, isn't that neat? So there's my 3D chair object. So that's what it looks like with a 3D object. And then I have to go back into edit mode to add more things. So then I can also add an image, and this is going to give me recent images. It's going to give me stock images. I can say sofa just from stock images. So if you're in interior design and you want to link to a more detailed image of whatever that sofa happens to be, then this is where you'd be able to upload an image, and so they click on the sofa and they can see maybe more details about that sofa. So here's just put that. There we go. And then sofa. So you get the idea of that. And then again, I can put always here, so it will always say sofa image if I want it to. And then another thing that you can add is video. So let me turn this around. What video do I have? I have that one. This is one I was going to show y'all in a few minutes, but I'm going to add it in here too and see. Let's see if it will let me. I'm not sure why it's. I'm not sure why it's being weird. Add item. Now also, if I wanted to add a file and it wasn't, if it was being weird, I could also add it inside of here in my site assets, and just go ahead and upload it directly to the site assets. Site pages, test space June is where it's putting all these. So I could also just go add that file in there. Downloads, there we go. Oh, okay. I know why it's not. I know why it was being weird. That is a video of me inside of my Oculus, where I went inside of that thing that I just built and went in the Oculus and recorded it. So I was going to show y'all. I'll just show y'all that at the end and not worry about that one. I'll do that later. Okay, I'm not going to add a video inside of the test space. I'll just do something else. Okay, so since I click to add a video and I want to, I don't want to do that. I'm going to click somewhere else. Okay, so some of the other annotations that you can do, audio. I don't have any audio files, but if you wanted to, you could add some music or add some sort of clip in here. You can add a file, which could be, in this example, what we did, the one that I already built that I'll show you, is I had the TV, and when you click on the TV, the file that we added was just the PDF for the instructions for the TV. So just as an example of having an object that you click on that has a file associated with it, that's one thing that you could do. So again, you have text, image, video, audio, file, and 3D object. And each thing that you click on, you have just options about what the text is going to do. Is it going to always show? Is it going to show when you hover or never? And then each thing that you add in your 360 image tour, you can change what the icons look like. You can change the icon size, and you can also just kind of apply that setting to everything if you want to. But yeah, that's the general idea, is just in the 360 image tour, clicking around and then clicking to navigate. I'll go ahead and link to another 360 image. Let's see, I think that's the hallway. So then I click to link to this. I'll put hallway here. And then always. And that way they'll know I'm going to the hallway when I click on this. So I have to, this is the tricky part, I have to republish this. Then, and I misspelled hallway. And then click on hallway. And then, oh, that's the one where I took the 360 image and then forgot to get myself out of the photo. So there's the tripod, and there's me just like clicking. So with the 360 image, with the Theta, you have an app on your phone. So I'm going to talk more about the Theta in a second, but you have an app on your phone. So when you're doing these 360 images, it helps to have a tripod and then step out of the image. So I was able to go stand in the next room once I took one accidentally with myself in it. I was able to go stand in the next room and then just get on the app on my phone, on the Theta app, and then just take those remotely. So that's the image that I did wrong. But anyway, that's how you can navigate. Now, once you are navigating through these, you're also going to want to navigate back out. So I'll go link to a 360 image, and I can go link back to the kitchen, and then kitchen. And that's pretty funny, right? And then say always, republish it, and then go back. And then there's a living room picture in there in between, but you get the idea. So that's how you go through the process of building out your 360 image tour. What do you all think? Oh, Carolyn said in construction it'd be helpful for knowing where the behind the wall structures might be. Yes, absolutely. That is true. Okay, so in interior design, what would be really cool? I know this is kind of futuristic, but if you had, so if your client had an Oculus, if your interior design client had an Oculus, and you, the interior designer, had an Oculus, the client could potentially they wouldn't necessarily have to have an Oculus, but it would help if they had a 360 camera. So if the client had a 360 camera, they could take 360 images of their home and then be able to send them to the interior designer, and the interior designer could either go into the Oculus or go into, SharePoint Spaces 360 image tour and be able to look around in that image, and then you could collaborate potentially. You get the idea? So the client with the 360 image who's far away, in another part of the country or the world, could be able to collaborate with the interior designer, because the interior designer would have the ability to sort of be in that space and not just be looking at a flat image of something. So I feel like you'd have more of the ability of having this sort of long distance interior design, or whatever industry it is, without the person even having to physically be there. So I know it's like Jetsons. It's very futuristic, but it's kind of cool. All right, so what else did I have next? So let's look at the Theta and now I did put a link to this in the resources for this course, for this Power Hour. I put this hyperlink to the Theta. So this is what I used. So, and you can kind of see it in the images of the tripod. So thank you again to Ricoh for letting me borrow the Theta. But this is another place where you can get some great ideas. So it's got scenes. So it's got examples of scenes like travel, leisure, sports, events, scenery. But then it also has some great examples of industries that you could use these in. So, and I rattled off a few of them a few minutes ago. You've got real estate, construction, inspections, tourist spots, hotels, cars, stores, restaurants, a wedding, showrooms, ooh, that's a good one, an exhibition, or even a company brochure. So those are some, and of course this Ricoh Theta has nothing to do with SharePoint, but once you have that 360 image, the SharePoint image tour is what's going to give you the ability to add all those annotations to it. And then what you could do is the interior designer could add the annotations to it, and then they could let their client log into SharePoint just as an external user and be able to go look around in that 360 image. Let's see. So, what else? I have some notes of what I was going to do in this. Oh, so also here, and I put a link to, this is the interior designer that I worked with on this, and so she's the one who we were at a client's example home that she had designed, and so this is more of her designs, and you can also find her on Instagram as well. I need to find that link. I'll do that at the end. And then a few things about the Theta is when you're doing this, keep in mind you might want to do a few practice images, because when you're placing the camera, it might look a little weird. So even though I put the camera, it's sort of just like what seemed like a normal height, where you're in some of these rooms in the 360 image tour, it actually looks like you're lower. So it looked like I was kind of at the height of the sofa when the camera was much higher than that. So that's the height of the camera is one thing to kind of pay attention to and test a few times when you're taking the images and putting them in the tour. And then there's also a mobile app. So I kind of mentioned this in when I was talking about the photo that I accidentally took myself in the photo. Theta has a cool app that goes with the camera. And in that app, of course, you can step out of the room and sort of remotely take the pictures, but it also has a really cool image editing. So it has a separate app for image editing. And then in that separate app, it lets you do all kinds of neat stuff with the 360 photos or videos that you've taken. And so, for example, I had a 360 photo, and I was, kind of playing around with the image editing, and I was able to make it look like it was just a still image, and I was able to make it look like it was a spiral, like it turned it into a video that looked like I was spiraling upward, but it was really just using what it had in that still image. So again, really fun stuff that you can do with those. So you can get very creative. So think about things like, like a virtual tour or like a vacation, and how interesting you could make those pictures look. Let's see. All right. So also, we have the Oculus Quest. And so once you're in the space, so let me go back into my, go to my space here. And I'm going to go ahead and flip over to, first of all, see if you all can get to this. So this is in Power. This is over. I'll give you all the link to this since you all are in Teams. See if you all can get into that. And Let me know if if you're able to click through, because I published it and you will have access to it. So now I'm going to switch over to the one that I already built so you can see some of the additional things that I did, because the tour that I showed you a minute ago was kind of just a quick tour. But I want you all to see this more kind of fully built out, and all the things I was able to do in here. So this is the one that, okay, so this is the starting image. And of course, this is the one without me in it. So this is the image of the hallway, and that's what the camera looks like. Now, again, it's crazy because I thought with a 360 camera it was going to be moving or turning around. But no, this is a still image. It has sort of these fisheye lenses where it just takes the image, and that's what it looks like. So of course, I'm linking to go into the living room. Now, this is where I was talking about the height. So you could see the height. Now, I just kind of had this thing at the same height for all the images. So it's pretty high. I mean, it was sort of up to here on me. And then when I go into this room and I take this 360 image, it kind of looks like I'm down low, doesn't it? It looks like I'm kind of way down here at the height of the sofa. So again, that's one of those things to pay attention to and test, is to see what it's going to look like in the space. Oh, Larry says he got in. Cool. That's fun stuff. Yeah. And then, so here, I'll go ahead and show you all the fun little annotations that I created in here. So here's a chair, and I did one of those 3D model, the little 3D models. Here is the TV. And this is where you can add a file. So I showed you where you could add a file. So we added the instructions for the TV as a file. And then up here is, so this is where we're adding descriptions. We added descriptions all around the room as well, where you could do that when you're showing someone around in a space that you designed. Over here we have original artwork. And we have the living room before. This is pretty dramatic. Look at that. I just want you to take that in. It's a pretty dramatic design. So that's what it looked like before. See where the fireplace is, and see there was a wall here, and they took out that whole wall to open up the kitchen. So see, here's the fireplace, and so here's where there used to be a wall, and then we've got, of course, the door and this tree. So I was kind of giving an example of what you can do with an image. So I just put an image of a tree. And then up here, wall was opened up to create one large open space. And what is this? The table. And I'm saying the store the table came from, the vendor. And then I'm navigating over into the kitchen. And I think I showed you this one. Here's the before picture of the kitchen. Here is the before picture of what those windows look like, and the cabinets. They're pretty drastically different, right? And then that one's going to take me into the closet. And here's there are two sinks in this kitchen, one over here. And there's a hidden coffee maker. Put a picture of a coffee maker in the windows before. So this is a really great example of the ability to very visually and in a very detailed way of being in a room and seeing the before and after, because it's like you're inside of the room. And then what else did I have? And then I had, going into the pantry. And this is kind of it's a really interesting way of being able to capture a really small space too. So it's a great 360 view of a tiny space. It's only 4 by 4 by 9 foot. So you can see all of the shelves, and it goes all the way up. So think about if you took just a regular 2-dimensional photo, you really wouldn't quite grasp, what's going on in that closet. All right, so again, I'm just clicking from room to room. Go back this way, and then I can go back out. And in each image, I'm also able to tell it where in the image that I want it to start. I didn't mean to do that. Where in the image that I want it to start. So I think I clicked edit, but thinks that I'm editing the SharePoint space. Anyway, so in the space, with each image, as you're kind of rotating around, you can tell it where in the image that you want the image to start, you know, so you're not kind of like at some weird angle. You can tell it which way you want it to be facing. You can also tell it which image you want to be the beginning of the tour. And then you can, in the SharePoint space itself, you have the ability to edit the space and edit kind of the settings of what is going on in the space. And of course, we did that in that other Power Hour that I sent you a link to. Let's see what else we have going on in the chat. Oh, Joelle said the pantry is so organized. I'm jealous. Yeah. Okay, let's see what else. So I actually chatted with someone from Microsoft about SharePoint Spaces before, kind of when I was in the middle of putting this all together. And he did say that factories are the biggest industry that actually use SharePoint Spaces in the real world, and because they need to know a lot of details about what's going on in the factory and where everything is three-dimensionally. So I thought that was fascinating. All right, so what I'm going to try to show you next is going to be what it looks like inside of the Oculus. Now, of course, what I'm showing you is a video, so you can't be in the Oculus unless you actually have one on your head. But I want to show you what it looks like to kind of, I went into the Oculus, and then in the Oculus, I went to the Oculus browser. Now, you could probably do this if you have an Oculus and you go into this SharePoint space that I created in this site that I have shared with you. But you just go to the browser in Oculus, and in the browser you navigate to SharePoint and have to log in and give it your Microsoft 365 credentials. And then once you're in there, there's a little headset icon. So once you click the headset icon, that's where that's where it's going to put you inside of the space. And then instead of clicking around, you're actually looking around it. Okay, so let's see. So here's where, hold on. All right, now let's see what it looks like in VR. Here is me going into it. Now I didn't record the audio of myself going into the space, but could you see what I did? I clicked the little headset icon. So now it looks like I'm in the house, doesn't it? So I click the little headset icon in the SharePoint space, and then now I'm looking around in the Oculus and clicking on all the objects and sort of navigating around, but it's more natural because I'm inside of it. So it's pretty neat, right? What do you all think? Does anybody have a VR headset? Anybody gonna try this? You don't need to get an Oculus. They're really fun. Joelle? No? Nobody? So this part's kind of boring because I already showed you all this stuff, but it's kind of tedious. But you can tell the difference is that you can see that it's more natural because it's on my head and it's, I'm looking around in there. You just have to try it yourself. Oh, David says he has one. All right, so David, you can go into this SharePoint space that I created, and you can look around in this lovely home, and it feels like you're in there. Yeah, so when you go into SharePoint, it's just going to ask, you're just going to use your same credentials that you use to get into Power Hour to get to that SharePoint site, and you could try it out. Yeah. Oh, Glenna says might get one after this. So if you get an Oculus, then my favorite game in there is called Beat Saber. That's the first thing to try. You're gonna spend hours of your life, but it's a blast. Tammy says, definitely want to try this. Very cool. Joel says, can I expense it? And David says, I'll have to try it. Yeah, try it out. So yeah, so now you can see I'm exiting out of the browser in the Oculus, and now I'm just kind of back on the main screen in the Oculus, and that's where I would go, navigate to other games and stuff like that. But yeah, that's I'll put it back on my video here. All right. So, all right. Well, I guess that wraps it up. Thanks everybody for coming. Yeah, try it out. Go get an Oculus Quest. They're really fun. I think they're about $300 or $400, depending on how many gigs and megs and gigs and different, memory card that you get in yours. And also all the games that you buy add up as well, FYI. But yeah, thanks everybody for coming. We're not having Power Hour next week because I'm teaching my interactive online class. That's Advanced Power Apps and Power Automate. But check out our schedule, iwmentor.com, and go ahead and click on the schedule button at the top, and that's where you'll be able to see when the next Power Hours are coming up. So thanks everybody for coming. See you next time. Bye.